At least 2 workers and sparking a massive fire which has shut down the plant. The plant is part of the Baiji complex around 250 kilometers north of Baghdad. The gunman infiltrated the refinery in the middle of the night, opened fire, then fled before detonating the devices. And those are the latest headlines. The news continues here on Al Jazeera right after Witness. Stay with us for the latest news.
Hello and welcome to Witness, the best documentaries from around the world, where people tell their stories. I'm Rida Fakhri. Australian Aboriginal art is gaining increasing acclaim around the world, and in the remote Aboriginal community of Bidyadanga in Western Australia, a new art movement is emerging. From his coastal home, painter Daniel Walbiddy encourages his community elders to paint the desert lands they left 30 years ago when drought forced them towards the coast. In their elegant and touching film, David Batty and Jenny McMahon record the extraordinary journey that Daniel and the elders take as they return to their lands, Desert Heart.
Living on the coast has been where we get our influence from, like the colors. Maybe the blue comes from the ocean, or maybe the sky. Maybe the ocean, because we live right near the sea. My name is Daniel Walbiddy. I come from Bidyadanga. My community is south of Broome in Western Australia. I've always seen the land as water and as beaches and everything. I feel that this is like my home because I was brought up here and I've lived here all my life. We feel that we are coastal people, but as we trace back our history and who we are, in our hearts, we feel that we are desert people. With desert hearts, you know. I'm 23 now, but I've been painting since I was 17. For a while I was the first and only artist, but then the old people started painting in 2002. When we had our first group exhibition in Melbourne, the response was overwhelming. Most of the work had been sold and brought. But for me, it's not really about the money. We paint country that's important to us, you know. The land that you were born on and you grew up. Your grandmother's country or your grandfather's country. For us, it's like a spiritual connection that we have. We never knew them as artists, you know, we just knew them as family and as people, you know. But once they started to pick up paintbrush and, you know, started to paint, a different side of them sort of was revealed, you know. And it was like a side of them that had so much knowledge and a lot of talent, and a lot of stories, you know.
Jajawala Lake, you know. Tijuan Lake. We dalam wala. Win country. I get sorry for my country. After I come back. Oh, where I've been grown. All right.
When they were young, these artists lived in the Great Sandy Desert, in the area around the Percival Lakes, known to us as Winba. It was the ancestral home for our people, the Yulbrija, for thousands of years. They didn't really know that the outside world did exist. They had very little contact with white people until the 1960s, when a severe drought forced them to leave their country in search of water. Don't grang away, ba? Pinabago. The old people haven't been back to their homeland in 40 years. They've been worrying for a long time that they're not maintaining their connection with the land. We've decided it's time to return to Winba. Winba is important because Winba belongs to everybody, not just to Yulbrija people. It's a place where people met for rain-making ceremonies. It's a place of big stories, important stories, and Winba himself lives there. It will take us about 4 days just to get to Winba. Very soon the road will run out. So at Punmo, we are picking up 2 of our relatives to be our guides. Moki and Waga left the desert in 1974 as young men. These 2 brothers were the last 2 people to leave the desert, and because of their knowledge and under their guidance, we are able to travel back into Winba. This is, I think, Auntie Kathleen's father's country, this particular soak. So we're just calling her to come. Jilla is a word that all desert people know. It's water hole, living water. Many artists, including myself, we depict the Jilla. It's our home. It's where people sat down and lived, grew up, and grew their children up.
Mas. All bus, all my bus, my country now.
Come on. Yeah. Yeah, my daddy been working on Dijan country.
I've always loved listening to the stories that my father would tell me of his childhood and, of his parents and all his extended families, how they lived. Many of them still paint the stories, and many of the water holes that they relied on, many of them still portray the route that they had to take. So it's still clear in their mind the reasons why they had to leave. It was mainly to do with the water and matter of surviving. We're nearly there. We've been traveling all day. We'll probably reach Winba maybe midday tomorrow. We can walk around and paint in that country. And we've got, high expectations.
Join me again after the break here on Witness.